All right, Zach. So you were looking at the 56K level on Bitcoin, which is right around here, which is actually a level that I'm kind of focusing on as well. And I haven't really talked about it that much, but I think it deserves a lot of attention just because it is a huge level. Whether, you're looking at it as like a point of release, a lot of people trade, especially in our Discord, trade the point of release. Well, this is like not only is it a point of release, but it's a macro point of release, right?
Yeah,
Um,
it's the most interesting part on this chart to me because I think one or two things is going to happen. I think it's going to reach up there, but it's a matter of does it go past it or does it get rejected from that point? If it goes past there, alts are going to have to wait quite a while, for Bitcoin to do its thing and then eventually have its retrace before the impending, bear market of some sort.
yeah, I think that's always the question you deal with, right? You're wondering like, does price can it's like, well, price probably will react on a significant level like that. You probably get some type of reaction, but how much does it
Yeah.
react? How far does it retrace? You
I'm
know,
excited to see either way.
yeah, no, I think I think it's significant on for a lot of different reasons. We can just go to the monthly chart. This is actually, not right near the level where I was managing risk, but some of you guys probably remember I was like constantly pointing to this level here, this monthly low, talking about the trend the monthly had established and creating monthly higher highs. And then it starts doing something different right here. It starts taking out the lows here. And then if we go back to a daily chart, you can see those lows right here. So that monthly low was set in November. We'll just go back to there. Uh, yeah, you can see November. So that's kind of like at this point in the market, uh, since at least over here, I believe, or somewhere in here, price came all the way up the whole time, even on these small retracements. Right, never violated a monthly low. Even here, nope, no violation. Even all the way down here, no violation. But this is where it did, right? And it changed that behavior. And so it's not surprising that, you saw this massive volatility expansion when you got a violation on the macro time frame on a high time frame level. That makes sense, right? I mean, that's where you see the big boy volatility come in. And it's where we did. And it kind of, using this level as a so I was bullish in here for you know, for that reason, because of what was happening on the high time frames. But luckily, I use this level as an invalidation, right? Because keeping that in mind, kept me out of this type of situation right there. But on the flip side, those levels, they have staying power, right? So when you see something like that happen, right, like price might revisit that level, like months later, or if we do revisit it, it'll probably be maybe in April or May or sometime like that. I mean, that's half a year, and it's still just as relevant after that time. But anyway, it's just kind of illustrate that there's staying power there, but there's a lot of confluence there. You got this what some people might refer to as a fair value gap right here, this monthly low, point of release. That's kind of where I'm looking at price to expand, and kind of with what volatility is doing on the low time frames in contracting. That's kind of why I'm not really. I think it would be pretty stupid to try to focus on there is a price distinction here, right? You could theoretically trade, find areas within in this consolidation here to trade, but I think just based on what volatility is doing, like uh, I think the likely scenario is that it expands beyond those immediate term uh, price targets and reaches up for this 56K level that you were talking about. Now, I guess the question is like, what happens then, right?
Yeah.
Is that like a macro reversal? Because this would be the area, and this is what you guys were kind of talking about in the Discord. Is you know that if you were to have a lower high on the macro, that would be like prime real estate for that.
Yeah, and that's again why I'm so interested in that area for that exact reason. Because it's going to be, a lot of breath holding. Kind of see what happens.
Yeah, I mean that would be a really really bad because I mean this would be a that would be turn this into a major macro swing. You know, with lower high here, lower high here.
Yeah.
So that would be that'd be the type of scenario that
Long-term bear trend after that. It's probably going to grind for a while if that does actually happen.
I would go so far to say I think if that happens, then
6K.
no, 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 no,
3K, remember? Three.
no. I'm
Bro,
not. I'm not a no. Oh yeah, no, no, no. It
I can see 24 though. I mean, I don't know how long it would
yes.
stay there, but 24.
well, uh, we hit 69K. Then the next target
Nice.
6900,
That's a beautiful number.
and then 690, then 69. So yeah, I mean, no, I'm just kidding. But
I have a
I would
question
say
for you,
though that
Ocon.
what's up?
I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Do you mind putting back the add BTC chart for a minute? This is where I'm curious to see your interpretation. And could you highlight the 9th of March of 2020 on the chart?
I guess probably go down
On
to
a
a date
weekly. On a weekly,
on a
9th of
weekly.
March.
Did you say of 2020?
Yeah,
Oh, in 2020. Okay.
yeah, 9th of March. So, what was the 9th of March? That
Was
was
the Black
Corona
Swan?
dump.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Now, can you zoom out so that we could see from that point on to the rest? Yeah. So this is when Bitcoin and Ethereum bottomed. But Ethereum versus Bitcoin pairing, it's pretty interesting. Even though Bitcoin went from 3K to 60K, we could say that from 9th of March till today, Ethereum was the better, and I don't want to say the better investment. I mean, for sure you could put Dogecoin or fucking Shiba Inu, whatever the hell it's called. But I am surprised that Bitcoin didn't overtake Ethereum to where Ethereum would have made a new low. You know what I mean? A lower low. This is where I'm somewhat surprised. And I was curious about your interpretation.
yeah. Looking at this, you almost wouldn't even know anything happened. Just looking at this chart, nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I guess the only way to answer that is that, yeah, Ethereum did outperform Bitcoin. I mean, you can't look at this chart and say it didn't. Um, that, it's pretty obvious, pretty self evident from the chart. Um, now, as far as like how to
I mean,
interpret that in an actionable way in the future, I don't know. I mean, you know, just as like it was very hard to predict this when you're looking at this, right? I mean, how many people saw this and were like, "Yeah, man, this is what's going to happen." I mean, maybe
oh,
if
that was me.
oh well,
That was me.
there you go. Yeah, there you go. I wouldn't necessarily be looking at this and thinking that that would happen. But you know, so I think you can kind of fall into the trap that's like, well, you know, you look back at what you missed out on, and then you kind of chase that, and then that ends up being like not a great time to enter. Uh,
So the way, okay, so there's two things to kind of highlight. First thing is that if, and let's hope this is the case, where Bitcoin has bottomed and we are maybe going to try to reach and go above previous all-time high. So what would be interesting is if the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing stays in a similar trend, meaning Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin. I think the only thing that is going to highlight is that if you're 100% Bitcoin, it's a certain risk you're taking on because there are certain altcoins that have proved themselves for maturity and also have a business model. I mean, you cannot say that FTX and Binance don't have a business models or don't make money or don't operate in certain areas where they're fully regulated. So this is just something to think about.
Yeah, I think the Ethereum over like a long period of time, I think most of the time Ethereum is likely to outperform Bitcoin, and Ethereum, and I loop in like other strong alts with that, which I'm not really entirely familiar with, but someone on the level of Ethereum, and but I think that the risk that exists in those assets is not something that you can identify in an Ethereum Bitcoin price chart. Um,
I agree with you.
in a
That's
sense,
I fully
like
understand what you mean.
like in a sense, like the risk is more existential than that. So you could have a situation where, uh, again, like you have, the network just fails, right? And it doesn't matter what the price chart looks like then. That
I
is,
fully understand what you
you
mean.
know what I mean. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I think with that in mind, it's very hard to operate with that, right? Because we know how to manage risk based on
I charts.
price levels and price charts, but that's a different type of risk. And I think that if you're smart, the way you'd want to do that is like, if you make profit in altcoin markets, you need to pull it out of that market, and put it in a market that,
Bitcoin.
yeah,
As simple as that.
yeah, really, really, because that's what all the big whales do. They're uh, people talk about all these use cases for altcoins, which I'm sure some of them have, but for whales or these large entities, um, who could be individuals, depending on like how early they got into crypto. For them, most altcoin use cases are to get more BTC, and that's their primary use case. And the reason for that is like you know, again, like if you think about the risk of network failure, if you compare that, there is a risk of network failure for Bitcoin, but it's like on orders of magnitude lower than a lot of the altcoin projects. Um,
For sure.
again,
For
I'm
sure.
not gonna be Nostradamus here and predict it and say that that's going to happen, but I think it is something to keep in mind because over the course of a trading career, we're going to see stuff like that. Maybe it's not Ethereum crashing and going to zero, but we will see similar type of things, right? Events that exist outside of what people think is possible and
I mean,
catches
we all
everybody
live
off guard.
just close or far to a bit connect. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I wasn't in the market at that point, but good old
I
Carlos, man.
was from afar. I didn't buy any Bitcoin, luckily for me, but I think someone from our group did,
Yeah,
and when that shit the bed, that was a pretty big shocker.
yeah, that's a good example. I mean, if you think about it, that was just a Ponzi scheme, right? But a lot of other altcoins are also Ponzi schemes. So, and all Ponzi schemes crash, and when they crash, there's no way to manage risk, right? The money you thought you had no longer exists, right? So, yeah, you may have $1 million of a certain chain or altcoin chain, and when it crashes, you don't have, there's nothing there. You know what I mean? Um,
Totally.
so
Last little request, if you guys don't mind, I have 10 minutes left. For me, this chart is starting to give me a little bit of a hard on. Do you mind putting Mr. Spy on a weekly? The fucking market that only goes up.
I still have my price bubbles here.
Good.
I got to make a new one now. I got to make a new price bubble.
Yes. Yes.
Oh
Right,
shit.
the bottom is in.
Yeah, I got it.
Let me reverse jinx. 2 seconds. I'll be back.
Yeah, but for anybody listening, kind of the idea with these little bubbles is that everybody, these guys who are calling tops and equities, they've been wrong forever, and they've been wrong over a period of like of years. So, even if they're ultimately right and call a big crash, like if you've spent the last like 10 years being wrong, you can't really turn around and say that you're right at that point. Um, you know
If
what I mean?
there's one market where you should just tattoo on your fucking forehead by the dip, it's this market.
Yeah, I mean they'll whatever, put it right here, whatever. You get the idea. It's like anytime they see it, these guys when they have a certain bias, anytime they see a down close weekly candle, they're like the top is in. And really, if you back test,
Yeah.
those areas are like actually the best times to buy, right? When you buy in a down close weekly candle.
But
Here,
now, I mean, let's say we have outside of markets things happening where like the recession, the interest rates, over leverage, blah blah blah. There's some fear in the market. But if we're just looking purely from a price action, could we just please zoom in a tiny bit? I do feel like we're if the weekly closes somewhere around here, we would, I don't say break structure, but this would be of significance.
well, you took out these highs here, right? Set in at beginning of March.
Definitely.
So that would be a break of structure. Of course, it's not a break of structure on the weekly time frame, but it is a
But you
break
see,
of
this
structure.
is this is the level on a weekly that if we could just highlight. I'm curious what it looks like on a 4 hour.
This
If we
level
go back on the weekly,
on the weekly.
yeah, those two lines. Yeah, there you go. Just the body. I'm more of a body person. There we go. Yeah,
Maybe attach it to this low here. Get the
there you
idea,
go.
right?
Okay, so this is here.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, price. What's significant to me is price taking out these highs,
Very
and
interesting.
and so now that those highs are taken out, I would be looking at this as a price swing, right?
Hmm.
This area, this low here, up to there, and this is an area where if structure gets broken like that, this is the area where people who are on the wrong side of the market start to get complacent, right? They're not noticing the signs that structure is breaking, and they're it's just sitting in a losing position and not really realizing that things are kind of turning around. Um, it doesn't mean, of course, that it can't take out these lows, but that is the framework that I would be looking at uh, to think of this price action.
So let's say hypothetically speaking, we close our weekly candle exactly at this level. Where would you mark the next points of interest?
Yeah, I mean, on a
Because
weekly level,
this cluster is so fucked. This one was
yeah, on a weekly level,
uh
you're basically, I mean, it's basically a straight shot up to essentially
that's
these levels here.
47. Yeah.
But if you go down to a daily chart, you can see better the levels. Really, I mean, uh, you know, I would be looking for these highs to get run, and then maybe this level here. So if you drew something like this, right? So you can see this low that was set in before. So okay, so you get your breakdown, right? And this is where the market structure broke, right? It broke down here.
Hmm.
And then so market structure breaks by taking out these lows, sets in lower lows. Price comes up, hits those lows exactly,
Test, reject.
rejects. So now it's significant going on. So yeah, I would be looking at a run above these highs actually to run liquidity above them, and then you know uh, maybe sell off from this level here where price moved aggressively, or maybe up here, but somewhere in this region.
And are you big on the idea that let's say price breaks the resistance, comes back, tests it, and rebounds? Is this like